Does that mean it started recording? Call is being recorded. Okay. Hello, everyone. It's James Strong. Today is September 15th. This is the Ingress-Nginx meeting, which means it is subject to the CNCF Code of Conduct. I mean, just be kind to everyone. If you have any issues, please report those to me or Ricardo or someone in the SIG networking team. Thank you. With that, do we have any new joiners today who want to introduce themselves? No? Okay, we can jump right into it. I know we've got a few things that we want to discuss. I know that, Ricardo, you've got three, I think four now that I since I added one. Where should we start? Should we optimize Carlos's time and start with him?
Yeah, I think it's good because he's not even available. He's here just as a favor. We love you, Carlos.
Thank you, Carlos.
That's a favor. Okay, that's not true.
And I unfortunately didn't get a chance to brief him on the issue, but so we're getting ready to do a really big release. We're getting ready to do the data plane control plane split, which is a complete re-architecture of how we're running Ingress-Nginx. And we had some questions on how we should go forward with releasing branch management and things like that, because we're probably going to run both the data plane control plane split and non for a little while. So we'll want a beta like we did with the V1 split. So we just wanted to discuss what your thoughts were on that. Did I cover the ask, Ricardo?
I think that's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Carlos, if we wanted to run two simultaneously, I think with V1, the V1s, we ran two separate branches and just released from both of them. But I think when we removed the V1 branch and went into main, that caused a huge merge conflict that Ricardo had to fix. So how do we optimize so that we don't have to do that again?
Okay, but if we split into branches, the second one, doesn't matter which one, but we're gonna merge to main afterwards, or that's gonna be a separate live branch for some time, and then just stop doing maintenance and that.
I think we did an alpha, a beta, and then we merged into main. And when we did the merge into main was the issue, right?
Yeah. But are you guys planning to merge things to the main branch afterwards?
We'll probably continue to do CVE releases in the main branch. Or should we just branch off and have a 1-3?
Okay. Can you quickly explain what's going to be in each branch? Like, we're going to have main that's going to have the new shiny features, right? It's the control plane and so on. And the other one doesn't have the control plane. That's correct?
That is up for debate.
It's okay. The other one is going to be the Nginx as we know today, right? Or kind of.
That's really what we should be discussing. Should we have CVE fixes in a separate branch, like new 1.3.0 releases in a separate branch, and then just keep DP of the data plane control plane split in main? That way we don't have that issue. And then when we're ready to release from main, move everything over to main, then we just cherry pick the CVE fixes.
Yes. I think that maybe is the best approach.
Okay.
Because we do similar things on the cluster API. That when for example we have a release 1.1, we create a release branch for that one, and things that is in the main branch, we cherry pick to the other one as needed, and we release both branches independently.
Yeah, I think we did that, and that caused a little bit of issues, but we had flipped, I think, for V1. So we'll keep all of the new and keep merging everything into main and release alpha and beta from main, but keep 1.3.0 in a separate release branch.
Yeah. I would say this 3.0, we create a release -3.0, and we live from there. That's going to be a separate release, and everything that needs things from the main to that branch with IP.
Okay.
And not do the opposite, right?
What do you think, Ricardo?
I think it's fine.
Okay.
Whatever Carlos says.
I can help in create the branches and the
Carlos,
jobs and everything.
Yeah,
Carlos,
my
Carlos,
biggest. Go ahead. Mo.
Carlos, Jintao is not here, but I think Jintao was saying that cloud build is a problem if we do on a branch. Cloud build only works on the main branch and not only works on main.
Fortunately, we have Sig release engineer lead here who can help us fix that, right, Carlos?
Yeah, no, I think like if the cloud build is only work on the main, like we can fix that. Like it should work independently of the branch. We just need to set up correctly the pro job to point into the correct branch that triggers that one.
Yeah. We did our own test, actually.
Yeah, right now I think cloud build kicks off on tag changes only. So we have a tag file in there, and then cloud build fires off of tag and builds off of main.
Okay, that's should not be a hard fix. I can take a look on that.
Okay. Well, that's easy enough. And Ricardo, that will make your job real easy.
Just one question. When we should start working on that? Like
We
yesterday?
have not merged Ricardo's data plane control plane split into main yet. I think we probably should do one more release. So do like 133, do that release, and then we can cut the branch, and then we can merge in data plane control plane and get an alpha there. Are we ready to do an alpha release, Ricardo? I thought it was in the end testing you were still working on.
Yeah. So all of the tests, they are working now, but without the control plane, data plane. My next step is to start writing the tests exactly for the scenario where the data plane is enabled. So I've spent some time actually fixing the tests to kind of pretend that I was enabling the data plane and checking if an error occurs, because the error should occur because I was enabling the data plane, but the tests, they weren't ready for the data plane. So my next step is actually start writing the tests for the control plane, data plane, but I need to write a Helm chart for that as well, and a lot of things to the end-to-end test they work. It's not just writing the tests. I need to write everything that bootstraps the environment as well. So, but that's the next step. And to be honest, I am like kind of like with with like split feelings on merging and then writing the tests on a separate merge request versus waiting for the end-to-end test, because it's going to be a really big PR. But I'm going to wait and do everything at once, and we all are going to have some hard work reviewing that. And I think we should probably schedule some time that we can do review together, and like just a meeting just to review that PR and take a look into things that maybe calling attention of folks, like adding comments, and then from the comments getting a review together on that.
I think like if you split in commits, that's going to be easier to review.
Yeah, there are already 10 or 11 commits.
Okay.
Yeah, but I will have to fix that anyway, because some commits, they are like, I am an idiot, let me fix this typo, fixing the typo again. Oh crap, another typo. But I will fix the commits and at least split in the control plane data plane commit, the main one and the end-to-end test one.
So if you just squash those into one commit, we can tag that at main and let that be, we can just tag it something so that we know where it's at in main if we ever needed to just go back. Or is that, at that point, should we, before we merge that, should we just create the 130 branch and that's the split and we don't need a separate tag on main? I guess we could do both because it would just make it easier for us to on main and on the release branch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have problem with the merge conflicts right now because we are really slow accepting new features, right, and bug fixes. So any conflict that may happen, it's not going to be some huge conflict. I just ask you folks to be careful. If you see some bug fix that needs to be merged, just just at least ping me, approve, but at least ping me so I will know whatever I am conflicting.
Yes.
But yeah,
I mean, our last release was mostly um, dependent about updates and some documentation. So yeah, okay, that's easy enough. Do we want to do that next week, Ricardo? You think you'll be ready? We can do it at the same time, Thursday 11.
yeah. So I was gonna do everything on this weekend, but I won't be at home for the whole weekend. So I will probably just have some time next week to start at least doing some end-to-end tests and checking if I can do the end-to-end tests. But how can I say it? Uh, like on a really small changes, just like saying, hey, this is data plane, so instead of calling like the local host, you should call another service or something like that. So I will need to spend at least like 1 day or 2 days fixing that and then try. So I don't think we are gonna have time for the next week.
Okay, that's fine. Well, we'll just follow up sometime next week and see how you're doing, and then maybe if we need to do it, we can discuss it at the next community meeting if you're ready. So we'll just wait for the next community meeting to discuss that at merge. In the meantime, I'll work with Carlos on cutting the release branch for 1.3x and go from there. Cool.
Sounds good to me.
Awesome. Thank you. Carlos, you're free to hang out if you want. We can go to our next point. I think the stale bot should be our next discussion. I didn't say I really pushed back. I just said that the stale bot, I think it pings me when things are stale. I get those notifications in GitHub and I look at them. So I think it's a nice reminder, but if there's a different, I think you said in Slack, Ricardo, there's a different bot that just lets us know instead of actively closing it.
Yeah, yeah. So so I have also split feelings on this. On one hand, sometimes we just page people and they just abandon the issues or something like that, and the bot helps us on that. On the other hand, uh, as a contributor and as a user of Kubernetes and other projects, I get really upset when I make a contribution and no one just cares and the bot keeps closing my issues, right? So trying to have the same empathy and bringing the same empathy, and Benjamin Elder also added some comments on DPR. I don't know if you folks saw that, but
Yeah.
he was saying their experience on kind and and what he felt on kind and what we should be taking a look on that, right? So uh, I think we can try to make this as an experience and being really having really empathy with people opening issues, but also we will probably need to get some time on a weekly basis or on a bi-weekly basis or even me on a daily basis to close things that need to be closed and answering things that need to be like, hey, we acknowledge your ask, but we don't have time to work on that, so feel free to work, otherwise you're going to accept and it's going to be on our QE with priorities, right? But at least giving some answer for people saying we are not going to leave this to close and die die because we don't care, but be aware that we don't have time to fix all of the issues and all of the feature requests and so on. So I think it's a good movement for us, and also based on the survey that we are still going to take a look into that, but that was one of the complaints, and I have received this complaint more than once, and not only on Ingress-Nginx. Like, I am one of the approvers of SIG docs for Portuguese as well, and people said, hey, can't you have more approvers because we are translating things and it's kind of annoying waiting you and two other folks just to review for us. and we know that you don't have time on that. So I think it's a good movement. I think that for Kubernetes, it's not sustainable to not have stale-bot, because a lot of things, they are just like, they have like 100 issues or so, 1,000 issues or so, right? More. But I think it's maybe a good approach to have in our. That's a good experience to make, in my opinion.
So okay, so just disabling it, and then we just continue. Like, I mean, our oldest open issue is the adding Grafana. I was looking at them this morning. Is adding Grafana to the Helm chart. I think it's been closed twice. And someone said they were going to pick up the PR, and I don't think a PR was ever put in place. So it's like, we need to have just new rules that we abide by, that, you know, it gets in the queue, or you can put in a PR yourself. And we just got to get better at queuing and prioritizing issues.
Yeah. I think so. One of the things that we did when we started to do the other roles was like adding more approvers on docs and Helm charts and other things. So the things, they weren't just like decisions from you, me, or Jintal, or like the root approvers for Nginx, right? And I think that first, I think it's fine having more approvers, and I think that the approvers, they need to have their independence on approving and fixing and triaging issues. Just remind to be fine with people, because they are actually, when someone comes to our repo and opens an issue or open up PRs, they are actually thinking they can improve our software, right? So we need to understand that thing. Like, hey, we understand that this is an improvement, or hey, thank you for your PR, but we think this is going to break more than fix things. So can we do something better on that, right? So I think that we need to this is my thinking, okay? I think it's going to be like good for the community if we stop closing, but still we can add labels on stale issues and stale PRs, and we can do that using the label command. Any contributor can do that, right? Like, say, hey, if you see something is stale, just add a stale label, it's fine, right? And we can add some GitHub action that marks like, hey, this didn't get traction for a long time, so this is stale, but let's not close.
Is the bot configurable from that respect? And you
Yeah.
just mark it as lifecycle stale, but not close it?
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then let's not disable the bot and just change the configuration for it.
I mean, if you go to this PR, you're gonna see that I have added in a bunch of jobs, right? So there is the job for the Rothen, there is the job for the stale, and there is the job for the active or something like that. We can remove from the label Rothen and say we are not gonna add the Rothen and we are not gonna close anymore. We are just gonna make it stale, right? The biggest problem is it's that the message is the same, right? So the message says, hey, this is going to be closed in 90 days, which is not true. We are not going to close anymore. So we should define a different pro job just for our case, like saying, this is a different message. We understand we are not going to close, but this is marking for the contributors that this is stale, right? We have those two approaches.
I can work on that. That is not a hard one. That's easy to achieve.
Okay, sounds good.
So just one comment. I like this, not closing things, but don't you think that's gonna increase the number of issues forever? And like we have some issues that is in a real stale for like more than 3-6 months and never got to be closed.
The Grafana issue that I just talked about has been open for 2 years.
Yeah, but then like my question is like, is this like pending someone? This is really important, or like, or the maintainer say, okay, we not gonna do that, and
I think that this is a contract between us and the community. Like, we are not going to automatically close, but if we decide that we are not going to implement that, we are not going to implement that because we don't have time or we don't agree. So please don't keep reopening that, right? And I think we can even lock the issue. sometimes. I think there is a plugin to do that. So we can say, hey, we discuss it, and it's not gonna be like a single dictator of like open source saying, I don't agree with this, I'm gonna close and I don't care. So we are gonna discuss between us and say, okay, we are not gonna fix this, or we are gonna fix this because we don't agree with this issue. Thank you for the contribution. Just don't keep reopening this because we have our reasons and so on, and the maintainers decided on that. But on the other hand, we are gonna take care of the issues that we agree, even if we are not gonna even if we are not gonna implement that in like short term or medium term. But we are gonna let the users know that that thing is on our radar, so we are not gonna allow that thing to close. A lot of those issues, they are just like, I have a lot of PRs on my queue that I need to review, and because I am in this control plane, data plane, the PRs, they keep getting marked as stale, and then they keep getting closed because I didn't review it. And that's not because I don't care, that's because I don't have time right now. So, right?
Yeah, I understand this point, but I'm questioning the other side. Like, it's some issues like we're not never gonna deal with that as a maintainers, or the community, there's no one that wants to pick it up that, and like we don't have time to fix. Community is not interested in fixing that, and then the issue like stays forever, right? And
Or we
just
should
growing. Yeah,
We should
then I
close.
think okay, sounds good.
We should just close it. But yeah, we're just putting the onus back on us instead of letting the bot just close out issues. As Ricardo said, to try to have a little bit more sympathy for folks who are trying to help us improve the software. All right. I will. Carlos, is there anything that we need to do?
No, I'm gonna take care of that tomorrow.
Okay. We'll follow up with you on in the next community meeting. Is that reasonable? 2 weeks?
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you. Gentile's not on. I wanted to discuss the 121 update with OpenRusty. And this conversation that's been ongoing for a little while. I was looking through because I was trying to understand it. We don't just use OpenRusty. We use specific different repos that we pull in. Because I was looking at the build script, and we pull in a bunch of different repos from OpenRusty. So updating that's not as simple as I thought. Is that accurate, Ricardo?
Yeah, it is. We need the OpenResty version, or we can just say, yeah, whatever, we are not going to be, like we did that on past, like not following the OpenResty version and doing ourselves as the Nginx version. But then we got into that core dump situation where people, they say, hey, you need to be with the OpenResty version, right? So, yeah, and it's not easy to update. So Jintao has a lot of background with Lua and OpenResty, and he's the one that can answer what's the effort on that.
All right, I'll follow up with him then, and just make sure that he's got his priority, because I mean that's one of the things we need to make sure that we're doing is just removing the CVEs and making sure things keep continuously get updated. That was going to be the next thing, so
Yeah.
I'll follow up with Gentile on this and make sure that this is his priority when he's looking at things, because I know he's got a lot too that he looks at.
Yeah, sounds good.
I think I spelled that right. Last but not least, on the open topics, Ricardo, you wanted to discuss this one?
Yeah, so F5 announced a lot of improvements on Nginx. I was talking with Carol last week as well, and she asked me what specifically things we want to know or we wanna do with that, right? And one of the complaints that we have since a long time, and also one of the reasons that we rely so much on Lua and other things, it's the hot reloads and the dynamic configuration of Nginx. And one of the announcements on this is something they call it Nginx agents, right? So Carol told me that, Carol is here, so she can't speak by herself, but she told me that there is not yet much. There is not yet much on the Nginx agent to say other than this is being, I guess, developed or opened or something like that. But I wanted to raise this, and if F5 folks they say, yeah, we don't know what to talk about that anymore, I would just like to have some timeline on that and say we can came back to the discussion in like 1 or 2 months and see and have some roadmap on that, right? So I'm fine with that. Dylan is not from the F5. He's just here for that.
No, I'm from F5 Nginx.
Just
that's not the reason that's not the only reason I'm here. That's all I just wanted to say.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Eventually I'll jump into contribution. Right now I'm just in the getting the lay of the land kind of phase. Just to see what I can help with and where I could be useful. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, and you're correct on the agent. Right now, it's a lot of they're trying to clean things up and get the user experience in a positive spot before they release it to the known universe. So.
Ricardo, were you thinking that the Nginx agent would just take over the control plane aspects that you're working on?
No. It's yeah, maybe in it's gonna be on the middle of the path, right? Like the control plane programs the Nginx agent, and somehow the Nginx data planes they come and reconfigure that. I don't know how the Nginx agent works actually. I just know that's like some REST API. I'm not sure if it's in a pull model or in a push model or something like that. But I think the main idea is like the endpoints and the certificates and the other things, they're not going to be configured anymore, push it to Nginx, the data plane, right? So they're going to be dynamic. So you got something new, it get pushed to the data planes, and we are not going to need the reloads anymore, right? For the new virtual hosts and so on. So I imagine it's going to work this way. And I was expecting this was one of the things that we've been hearing from the F5 folks, but I understand that actually, as someone that works for a big company that makes a lot of announcements, and then we have a lot of engineering efforts after the announcements, I understand that they need some time to figure out what's going to be provided for the community. So I'm fine with that. So as soon as you folks have some more information for us, like, hey, here are the documentations, we can do some proof of concept, just showing how this works. I would like to listen more about that.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds reasonable. I think the separation of management and control is in the same vein of where, I mean, your thinking, I think, is mostly accurate, I would say. But I think it's not really worth discussing until you have some code to look at, in my opinion. That way you can give us your opinion on whether or not you see use in it or not, and then we can kind of make decisions at that point. That would be where my thinking is at. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. Once you guys have a POC that we can review and demonstrate, and we can do that in a community meeting and just walk through it together, that'd be great. Yeah,
we met with the PMs for that last week, I think, to kind of get the skinny on it, and they gave us it's actively being worked on. So I can say that it wasn't just like a nebulous promise and then we're going to get around to it when we feel like it. It's actively. So that's a positive note, is that it is actively being worked on. So
okay. So should we bug you in a month, 2 months?
Let me double check with those two guys and see when they're never going to give me a release date. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
But if they have like a nebulous date for a date, I can bring that to the next meeting. So And
Okay.
correct me if I'm wrong, Carol. They didn't give us any kind of dates. They just said, you know, it's in flux right now. I can't remember. Were you on that call, Carol?
I was
No,
not,
Jason was.
but yeah, we can definitely.
Oh no,
call.
Marisol was on that call.
Yep.
That's right. That's right. I have the transcript. I was reviewing it this morning, and there wasn't a lot of meat on the bone there. So
That's fine. Quarters are good too. We'll just we can open up an issue and watch it go stale.
there you go. And then the bot can color.
But yeah, no, I'll go ahead and open an issue so we can track it, and then we can have conversations back and forth there.
All right.
Dylan, a curiosity question. Does the Nginx team clearly recognize the problem that when the config is too much, like at least the controller users they have talked about, there's one issue right now, it's in thousands. So they have like 2,000 or 3,000 ingress rules to be reloaded. So does the Nginx team actually recognize the problem that the reload of large volume of config is a problem that that they have to solve, or is it a very high level design of a lot of features that the agent is going to try to bring?
I don't know the answer to that question. I would poke Jason to see if he has any feedback on that, but I actually don't know if we recognize what the Nginx, because I work for the business development, or not the business development, the community team, and not on that actual dev team. But let me take a look at, let me talk to those guys and see if that's something that is a priority on their list.
Great. Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks for bringing that up, Long. I know I saw an issue earlier in the week where somebody said they had 1,000 ingress objects and they just kept getting 500s during the reload. So I know it's an issue. Awesome. Well, we've been through all the open topics. Should we go into the stabilization? I think there were two pieces. And again, Gentile had the endpoints to endpoint slices conversation.
James, a quick question.
Go ahead.
Ricardo, there is a CV about the HTTP package. Is it something important? Do we need to care about that?
Which package?
Net HTTP.
On Golang,
Yeah.
do we have an open CVE issue, or is this just something you've caught scanning lately?
No, there's an open issue right now.
I don't know. I don't know which one is this.
So the guy who raised that issue says it's fixed in 19.1 and we are in 19.0. So do we care? Does it matter? Because it's HTTP, net HTTP, so I think it's important. So
it's inside Go, right?
Yeah.
Do you know which issue?
Yeah. The thing that I keep seeing is and your boss James made a great discussion on that, is that people, they are relying on different scanners, right? Like the scanner from the cloud provider to say, hey, this is vulnerable, when they are just like checking if there is some library that exists because of like transitive libraries, but they are not being used, right? I think that all the CVEs, they matter. I'm just worried that we are getting buried by a lot of like CVE reports that they are not real CVE reports. They are just like, hey, I have passed this scanner and it's reporting me the CVE, so go ahead and fix it, right? And this is why I got really excited by the announcement of the Go team on the Go Vim stuff, because that scanner I would actually rely on, because they scan and say, hey, you use the vulnerable part of the code, or you don't use the vulnerable part of the code, so you don't need to take care of that, right?
So it would scan all of our libraries and tell us if there's an actual exploit, if the CVE can be exploited in our code. That's what the Go vulnerability checker does now for us.
it doesn't do for us. It's a new product that it's a new program that the Golang team they are announcing, and it will do that. It will just check, hey, your code touches a part of the code which is vulnerable or not, right? So the same thing happened with some Kubernetes library. I guess on the next meeting we discussed about that. Like we are using Kubernetes 1.24, and it reports like a really severe vulnerability, but it ended being like Kubernetes didn't touch that part of the code. So Jordan Lidget and teams, they had to say, hey, we are not gonna release a new version right now because our code doesn't touch this, right? So I think that what Go vulnerability program does, it's something like that. I would love to rely on that thing, at least so we don't get buried, because I keep seeing like on a daily basis reports on CVEs on our packages, right? Because some scanner, some cloud scanner, something like that, reported that thing, and it ends up being just like, okay, we are always gonna have libraries vulnerability. They appear all of the time, right? We
Yeah.
need actually to know. Go for me is just becoming some Node.js or like Java. You just have a lot of libraries, and you just need to decide if you want to live with that CV or not, right? So
The
I
only,
would like I would like to be really sure that whenever we receive some CVE report, it's a CVE report of a code that we use. Like we are receiving things from end-to-end test. Like, hey, we don't produce end-to-end tests. So, yeah, but your code compiles using that library. I mean, it doesn't touch that part of the code, right? So we just need to be really careful on that. Otherwise, we are going to keep doing releases on a daily basis. And I don't think this is healthy for us.
well, yeah, it takes 4 hours to do a release if you do it right.
Yeah.
Unlike our last one.
Yeah, Gripe is not showing that vulnerability in the image. So that guy is just reporting about the HTTP package. So
Yeah, I don't know if Greg goes into the actual packaging or just looks at the image. So that's the other thing too. So I've added the issue that we should open an issue and see if we can get someone to add the Go vulnerability checker into our CI.
yeah. So Snyk has reports about the dependencies. So Snyk is looking at the Go mod.
Okay.
Go.me. So
But this is the
That's
discussion here that I saw from Dan, and I think it's fine. So each vulnerability scanner reports different vulnerabilities, right? And if we just like, and they do, like some of them, they report Debian vulnerabilities where there is no Debian in the image as an example, but they do, or like old Go gRPC something protobuffer because the protobuffer contains something old. So I think it's fine, but I think that we need to be just really careful on what matters for us on the vulnerability, right? So on the Go code, it just matters for me the vulnerability uh, the vulnerability of parts of the code that we touch. On Nginx, it does matter for me if Nginx releases a vulnerability of Nginx because it's not something that we control, right? So it may be a feature that we use. For the libraries on the image that we use, and I really want to be distroless in the future, but it does matter if this is a library that we use. But if we don't use that library, why should I care? Like it's just installed, it's there, but it's not gonna be used by something like that. So
Well,
it's this is my
that's the other thing too, is that if it is installed and we're not using it, should we just pull it out? That also
sure.
helps with that discussion as well.
Yeah, and this is why I wanna go distroless in this thing as well, because I mean, I just wanna use whatever is mapped as a dynamic library in Nginx or and the dependencies of each of the library or for the Go program. Anything else we shouldn't be having the internally in the image, like curl. We do have curl because of like a legacy, because people use it to enter into the container and test. We shouldn't do that. If someone want to test something, just do a kubectl port forward and test from your local machine, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. We should probably put that in the documentation too when we do the split. Ephemeral containers, don't those come into 125 as GA, or are they already GA?
I think they are. I think they
Okay.
are.
Because that can also be the other thing. We can just have them attach an ephemeral container and do their testing from there. So when we do move to distroless, that also solves that problem. So I wouldn't consider it a breaking change. I would just consider it it changes how you do testing.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Like, let's just remove whatever we don't need inside anymore. If the compilation works and all of the end-to-end test works, let's just start removing all of the packages that we don't use anymore, right?
Agreed. Okay. So I'll open the issue for the Go tracking. I don't think we have one. I'm not idle. Oh, I was idle in the Zoom. Sorry, that was a Zoom message, not a meeting. Anyway, I don't think we have enough time to start triaging issues, unfortunately. We already know where we're all at with the stabilization projects. I'm gonna go ahead and yep, I'll open that issue to that, Ricardo. Thank you for posting it. I'll go post those issues. I'll do the wrap up, and maybe we do, like you said, once we get the new Stalebot in place, that should be one of the first things we start checking instead of skipping it, because we have been in the habit with the project stabilization stuff and the DP and all of the things we were doing of skipping the triaging of issues. So I control the flow of the meetings, while Ricardo, you do as well. So I think that's one of the things we just need to have a better handle on, is make sure we go through those.
Yeah. One last thing. We are having in KubeCon the talk, and me and James, like, I still need to start preparing my talk with Carlos, and I need to prepare my talk with James as well.
Yes.
But I think if we can put something together already, James, and provide the slides, the preview of the slides, so if someone wants to add something, because this is a community presentation, we would like to invite you folks to contribute on those slides as well, because they are going to be actually how we present the project health for the community. I think that's going to be fine as well, James, if we can consolidate the data that received it from Josh yesterday up front, and send to folks on the Ingress-Nginx dev, so we can also discuss the roadmap that we want to present on KubeCon.
Yeah, I'll open up the presentation and get it started, even if it has nothing in there, and then I'll drop it in the meeting notes, and then both the dev and user channel. And I think we can share the non-PII data, right? I'll follow up with Josh what we can.
Yeah,
share.
I think we can. Yeah.
Okay.
As soon as they don't have the PYY, I think we can.
Yep.
Yeah.
As long as they don't have the personal, the PII, we can share that. So I'll put those out there, and we can go from there.
Okay, sounds good.
Hey, gents. A couple of things. I actually will be at KubeCon. I just found out last week that they're going to send me to Detroit. So
awesome.
That's just as an FYI. The other thing is I'm looking through the community group stuff, and I'm trying to find the SIG meeting stuff, and I'm for some reason not able to locate it. I mean, what should I be looking for here?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I'm on the Kubernetes contributor site, and I was just trying to find it because I'm trying to figure out where can I request the Slack invite and get access to documents. I mean, I see all the stuff on GitHub. The other thing too is you mentioned that there's an issue around the reload, or I don't know if it's a reload issue or it was the reference to a recent issue about the failure that's happening with large numbers of instances.
It's in the Slack.
Oh, is it? Okay, did I miss it? Okay.
There are 3 issues.
Oh wait, I'm not in the Slack. Sorry.
Okay.
There are 3 issues, not just one.
What's that?
I'll share the doc with you.
Okay.
We'll post all of the meeting notes, and then I'll get you a Slack invite.
All right.
I was saying there are 3 issues, not just one.
3. Okay.
So this is the one that's got the list of all of our meetings and everything.
All right.
But yeah, I don't know. The invite's just at, is it just slack.kubernetes.io? I don't remember.
Yeah. I mean, I'm already there. I just need to be added to the.
To the two groups.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that. What can you is?
It should be Dylan.Turnbull, I think at gmail.com is what. Well, actually, let me look at it and see which one I have up there.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's you.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. And then I'll add you to the user group as well. So we've got two. Dev is for when we have these types of conversations, and then users is for when users can post issues. Okay. Awesome. Well, we appreciate the help. And we're at time, folks. Thanks everyone for joining and discussing the issues.
Awesome. Have a great weekend, guys.
See ya.